suit. It's cold in there.
Feels good.
Yeah. It's colder in here. That's why I opened the door over there. See the hinges? See, the hinges are proud.
Oh, it is cold.
Just have to slide the door up.
Or we have to roll it out when it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's safe as. Yeah, this is we call it a refrigerator.
Whoa, this is slippery. Be careful.
What's the hole? Okay, look all the way down.
I'm not falling in.
Don't stand on that piece of plywood. Okay.
It did. It's got a little spring.
Yes, it's
Because-
old furnace hole. It's got to be patched up.
Well, this is different.
Yeah, you can see where the roof sag is pushed down the ceiling joists. They're down 6 inches in the middle, or close to it, 5, 6. Anyway. You can see the circumstances up there. There's not much there. Pretty much. It's sooner or later it's a failure without reconstruction. That's the way it is. And probably sooner than later. But anyway, the reason why I would like to talk to you this morning is about these exterior walls. The wainscoting is 1960s generation. It's not a couple of hundred years old. Dave Cole probably put this stuff on. I had built these benches when they moved this building over here. Or if that didn't happen, it happened sometime in the last century. It didn't happen in the previous century when they were built, because this is all milled lumber. You can still buy this stuff. It's available. It's almost identical. It depends on the cutter at the particular mill that made it, but that's not the point. This stuff needs to come off on both of these walls for two reasons. There isn't too much holding up these walls, to be honest with you. If you take a look at it, you can see just about what it is. And sporadically or periodically, there is a post. There are no posts under certain things in certain places. And what really needs to be done is an additional wall framed on the inside to match the window layout exactly inside these walls to help carry this roof system for two reasons. You see what we have? This is the bottom cord of the truss up here. We've got this far with them. Now the bottom cord of the truss, what they did with the sheathing, and I can draw this kind of quickly, with the roof sheathing to explain to you why it is what it is, and I do have a pencil laying around here somewhere. Should have a lesson, actually. Well, I guess there might. Everybody have a pencil?
Here's one. Here's one.
That'll do. I can do it right here on
Here's,
this.
here.
There we go. That's the one I was looking for. All right. If you cut a section away the wall and you look at this beam, here's the beam. The roof sheathing normally goes by. It's not. It's setting in here. There's very little shelf on top of this beam to park these trusses on. So you're setting the truss, which is what holds all this together. These things here are doing nothing. And if you look, the walls have blown out 2 inches on both sides in the center. They're leaning out in the middle. There's a bow on them, and it goes outside the building this way. There's no way to pull that back in. You've got too much weight up there to be wrestling with those walls. They pretty much have to be left the way they are. These bottom cords, these new pieces of lumber, are going to tie these walls together. They'll never move again, because they're going to be attached to the rafters and attached to the beams. So that's going to eliminate any further kick out of the walls for sure. Obviously, these turnbuckles were put in to prevent that, and they're not doing much because they weren't tightened up enough. The point is, they can come out of there because they're not doing anything, and they're absolutely valueless. Those members up there will, all the way through this place, hold these walls together pretty much forever, as long as you keep a roof on the place and water doesn't come in. Because that will deteriorate wood, and then whatever was there will rot and become unstructurally sound. Now, if you frame a wall inside these walls, What that does is it transfers the load of these trusses all the way down to the foundation, because the foundation has, here's the top of a foundation, here's the beam on the outside, and this has been filled in with solid blocking for the joist hangers which hold the floor joists. This floor up has been reconstructed. All the floor joists in here now are adequate for this type of loading. So the new wall will sit approximately here. The old wall is sitting here, and it all transfers down to the foundation and it holds this building up for all time. That's just the way it will work. That needs to be done because those trusses are only sitting on about 3 inches here, and it's just the tail of the truss. If you put the other wall will actually extend in about 2 inches from that beam, and that will distribute the weight of the roof, assist in distributing the weight of the roof all the way down to the foundation. That really needs to be done. That wall is not a bearing wall. Gable walls never are structural. You can take it right off and it wouldn't matter. So it doesn't have to be done to that wall, but it really needs to be done here. And also, if you look at the walls have a bow in the center outward. You can see that. There's no way to tell what the condition of these joists are, where they meet the floor, or the studs, I'm sorry, the old studs. There's no way to tell that without actually going into it and looking. So consequently, this wall, as I look at it, is structurally mediocre at best. If you restud these walls, these 2 walls, with exactly the same window openings, you won't really affect anything other than the interior framing structure of the wall. You solve all those problems. And I'll explain what the financial end of this is. The original plan was, this is only a 3-inch thick wall, not very much. The original plan was to foam these walls with 3 inches of spray foam insulation to give us adequate insulation to make the room tight, the walls tight. Foam, and that's figured into the cost analysis I did way back last summer. I think it was close to $3,000 to foam these walls. They get $1 a foot per inch, square foot. 3 inches, 600 feet, $1,800. And it's a little price, and that's not including that wall. When you frame a wall inside, then you get to apply a different type of insulation. Same value, same ability to insulate, but you've got thicker so you can use the fiberglass bats. It'll actually be a greater insulating value than 3 inches of foam. And there's a net savings of about $1,200 between the 2 types of insulation for the town. The walls will cost about $850 to build, labor and materials. My labor is not going to, I'm not charging for my labor, but I've got to pay for the materials and the men that are going to assist in doing this. So that actually, if we do that, there'll be a net savings to the town of between $300 and $500. I can't pin it down exactly. So in the long run, it doesn't cost the town any more money to do that, but it really needs to be done.
So then, but then the walls would have no insulation?
Oh no, they would have 6 to 8 inches of fiberglass bats in 2 layers, which is really nice because that does a better job. Because you're gonna insulate across the face of the studs because you're gonna pull it behind. The point is, it would have greater insulation than the foam would have if we sprayed the 3 inches of foam into the pockets between the studs. And also, the other thing is, you look at stuff like this here. They built this and they have a wide brace going up here, nothing carrying any of this, that from there and that truss there. And this is like, you know, back in 1800, nobody much gave a darn about building codes because they didn't exist. So this is the thing they put up for a stud, and it's got a big hole in it, and you know, nobody can give you a number on how long that's going to be good for. But you're into the building now, and it's all been gutted. If there's any structural improvements to be made, this is the time. And like I said, it's no net increased cost to the town to do this. It's going to be a savings in the long run. And I'll map it out. I brought my cost analysis with me so I can show you what the projection was versus what the actual cost would be. That's sitting over on the table. We can look at that. Okay, that's that end of it. The other end of it is not having gone into this attic because the insulation, we took out of here 1.5 tons of insulation between the blown in and the fiberglass that was up there, and it was, maybe quarter of a ton was mouse manure, but it was plenty of that. But at any rate, we found we'd hoped these beams, this is like my house, okay, it's 300 years old, would be everywhere. Instead, they have this junk. If you look up there, I mean, this stuff, if you look around, we already took this one out, and it's laying over there on the floor because it didn't even go to the end. And there's 2 more down there that don't go all the way to the end, and they're pulling out of the wall. They're 2 inches out of the wall. If you look here, you can see the space between the beam and the butt joint on the beam where the tenon goes into the beam and the mortise. And you can see that the walls have pulled out. These are valueless as well. We're eliminating the even need for them by putting these structural 2x12 Douglas fir, 2x10 Douglas fir bottom truss cords in. Consequently, you have a nice beam there, a nice beam there. There's 2 more down there, and they end right here, and they end right there, so there's nothing in the middle. My suggestion would be that the town takes the net savings on the insulation, and we go out and buy 2 more of these beams. Here's the idea. When we finish with this, the sheetrock or the wall covering, whatever, is going to be up here, right across under the bottom cords. We're going to jack these up because they've sagged. I mean, you can see the sag and everything. So they're going to be perfectly level all the way across and attached to the bottom cord of the trusses, and it's an insignificant amount of weight to add to them. It'll carry them well beyond their structural values. At any rate, I would spend, and they could be $500 or $600 or $300 or $400. I got a bunch of people looking now for 2 more beams. So then, if you check, these are 5 foot 4 inches on center, and that works out. So at 5 foot 5 on center, if you were to put 2 more across here, then you would come in here and you would see these beams exposed every 5 foot 5 all the way down through the building. You don't have to do that. We cannot put the beams in here, but you'll have no beams from that beam to that beam there. And you know, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's not going to cost the town any more money. It might be $200 or $300, depending on what we can locate the beams for. But between the walls and the savings on insulation, the beams should come in at, it might be less, depends on what I can find them for. I've got people looking for them for me right now to replace it. But I'm suggesting that you authorize that to get those beams and put them in, and it doesn't have to be done right away. We're going to put them in after we get all the roof trusses. A lot of material sitting here now, but I have another load coming in on Tuesday because I couldn't clutter this place up with too much stuff because you got to work in here.
And what have you put in the inside? Obviously, you put those. Anything else you put on the inside?
At this point, no. We just finished gutting on Thursday, and the materials came yesterday. So what we did yesterday at noon was when they came in Thursday night, they had to take them off the shipment truck and throw them on one of their trucks, and they got them over here at noon. So from noon on, we got these, 5 pieces in. So the rest of them have to go in all the way down. Then this building's tied together. The walls cannot kick out, barring the roof doesn't leak.
Gary, these boards are pretty long and pretty expensive. What do they cost?
Oh, this right here, there's $1,280 worth of wood just in this pile. Well, including the 4 that are up there.
How many dollars a piece?
90-something, 91. There's 14 of them, so.
If you do that to the wall, you're gonna lose a foot inside.
No, you're gonna lose 6 inches, give or take.
Each side,
No, 3.5 inches on each side.
and then you build the sills out on this side, so you have longer sills,
What are you talking about?
interior window sills.
Well, jams, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what would happen eventually. That's not the way we're doing this, so that'll come down the road a little bit. So in other words, instead of a 4-inch deep jam extension, you'll have a 6-inch deep,
7-inch.
which is roughly what you got in any conventional frame building today. You have a 2x6 wall, so you have a deeper jam. It doesn't change the trim package any, just the width of the.
But those would be still 4-inch.
Well, we could frame that wall as well too. Here's the issue with that wall. We don't want to wreck the cabinetry down there. We don't have to wreck the cabinetry down
You
there.
can't open it.
Well, that can be fixed, if you know why, because Dave Toll built that after this building was moved, and the floors were sagged.
Right.
We jacked everything up.
I
straight,
know.
And once that happened, you can't get in the cabinets. But those
But
doors,
nobody's stealing
we can open them, you can open them and play them.
I
mean,
understand.
Yeah,
I
that's,
know that.
well, I'm not too worried about any of that. You can also just take the part above the cabinets over there, if you want to make it match. Say you want to jam this thick or wide on these windows, and the same thing with those 3 windows, then you can do that wall there. And then just from the cabinet up to the walls there to make it match. If you want them to look the same. I don't think it's something that anybody's gonna notice. The difference between a jam this wide and a jam that wide, from that wall to that wall, but it's not my call. Whatever you wanna do, when you get to the finish end of it, you're gonna buy a little wider piece of wood for your extension jams than you would for this particular situation. So,
Any questions for
Yeah,
anybody?
some things I noticed. There's the original roof line, see down yonder and that.
yeah, they built this roof, is not new, it was built in the last century.
See the big beams over there?
That old roof line was built the century before.
So they matched this roof line to this roof line,
Yeah.
and they moved it, that's what it looks like.
Yep.
And the other thing I noticed is the latch.
I know.
That's most likely what's behind the wall.
And that's called split lath.
Is that what that's for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. what
I've
it
never
is.
seen anything, I saw the 1-inch stuff. Well,
Yeah, and I need to come down and take pictures
The
of
reason
it.
why it's split lath is because if you look, this was a wide board here, you can see the straight line. It's less apparent here than it was on the ceiling because everything was curvy, the way the wood split. But they'll put a wide board up and then they'll split it as they go and nail it with a keyway in between. The only problem is, when it's done that way, the keyways are sometimes only 1/8 of an inch thick, which are grossly inadequate to get the plaster behind to form the key. So, so like these spaces aren't big.
And I didn't know we had a window.
Two windows. Two up there. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So anyway,
if there was ever any question what's between the 2 buildings, there's
A window.
window.
you can see the
And
outside
you
of
can
the
see
other
the
school.
outside of the other
Schoolhouse, of the townhouse.
townhouse.
Our next priority is,
Keep it off the weather. You're right, look at it.
our next priority is to frame these rooms up and get Mike ready to be able to start. That's pretty much, we're gonna get the stuff framed, the floor's gotta be repaired and that.
There's your pencil.
And now Gary, the subfloor runs perpendicular to the joist.
That's right.
Okay, I thought they were running parallel for a while.
No, the subfloor doesn't, but these boards run parallel to the joists, and that's why you get the cupping, because they've been nailed only to a subfloor. Over there,
Hey Gary, quick question. Where are the new walls going?
Well,
How far out of the?
well, over here, you can put it right in the same pocket, it wouldn't matter, because it's a lavatory. Over here, the new walls are gonna be out, even with the outside of that window. To make a handicapped accessible bathroom comply with code, it could have been 6 inches further that way, but that would necessitate moving that window.
So we're gonna move this beam?
No, the wall's gonna come from here to here approximately and go in that way, the utility room, bathroom. Then this will be open here and then there'll be a small little room there and the beam will be exposed from the utility room wall that way.
Or you're not putting another bathroom back there?
Yes, eventually, but we're just gonna frame it.
Okay,
But now, we're not gonna.
I got it.
So you're gonna, but the bathroom is on the other side, the bathroom wall is on the other side of that beam.
All right, it's just, could we use one of the old beams, the old short beams, and use this long beam further down? I'm just trying to get ways of finding, and Dave's saying this as
I tell you what,
I'm just throwing it out there.
it's a harder job to go up there and cut those mortise tendons loose and move this beam, and then take a shorter beam and put it in than it would be to just get the 2 beams. It's not gonna save the town.
No, that's why I'm asking, that's just asking a question.
And we can get, this is all over the place, you can find this stuff.
Okay, no, I think it's all around, but I was just saying if this thing's bad, like, if
It's not
more work
really-
than it's worth, then.
Oh, today.
Yeah, I think, it is, it's 6 of one after the other, and except for the time component,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this roof is down 6 inches in the middle, and that's pushed these ceiling joists down 6 inches. That's why I didn't want to go running around up there too much, because I had no idea. And some of them, like this one, those didn't even go all the way across, it just floated on top of the lath. And down here, it's the same thing with some of these. I mean, you can see one of them, just there's nothing there. You know, it's just, they're just hanging out, hoping for the best. And the lath held them up. But if you go up there and walk around, a guy my size, you're liable to wind up in the basement or on the floor.
Oh, not in the basement, you just fixed it.
Yeah. No, this is good. This goes nowhere. This is good for, this will be around longer than we're, any of us.
Longer than we're-
Every time we used to do that, the ceiling would come down.
It would.
So these are the things that you have to consider.
Yep.
I can't guarantee that that truss is gonna sit on top of that wall as well without,
When do you need answers by?
well, I'm gonna frame this up and finish this, and I got a couple of days going to do that. In the middle of the week, I don't have any idea, you know, you're running into problems putting these things up, and you take it as the time allows and get it done. But I would wanna get this wall framed up immediately, these side walls, for two reasons. First of all, the fire people are coming to deal with that this week, early. The hanging, we're gonna take the pull alarm right out of the back for now, because it's not necessary. There's a pull alarm in the front. That's not needed. There'll be smokes back here so that if there's a fire, it'll set the alarm off, but we don't need to have a pull alarm at the back door right now. Later on, they're gonna have to come back in and reinstall that at the exit, but for now, just get it out of the way so we didn't gut that wall simply because of that. That's hanging there, and there's a key on the plate, so you can't get in and release the box from the wall without having the fire department come. See, the way this has to be done to ensure that the building doesn't fall down is all of this stuff, every one of these rafters have to get a jack under them. And they all have to be done exactly the same and simultaneously, after the jack is on one side, after the jack is up, and it has to be this way, perpendicular to the rafter. You can't come straight up and jack that rafter that way. It has to come at the rafter, almost perpendicular. Then, once the jacks are all set up, then you can release all this junk that has been put up there, which is all this superfluous 1x8 junk, and take it all out of there, because it's not gonna be of any value. It really isn't much value now, but it's got some value. So once you've got that roof posted, and that gets posted to about the carrying beam in the basement, which has all been redone with new columns and supports. Then you can jack this roof up after releasing all this stuff and build the truss on that side. Then you take all the jacks and all the stuff because you have to jack out to the outside of the wall. You have to put a 4x4 with an angle down so your jack is tipped in the direction of you gotta turn it all around and put it on that side, then come over here and jack this side, one at a time. It's a slow, methodical process in order to keep the
Can
building.
you jack them all in one day, or does this take weeks to?
No, it doesn't take long. It's not the process that you were told in another, it's absolutely not.
Oh, no, things aren't gonna split because
No, and no, there's a methodology for this. I've done this more than one time, believe me, to do this to prevent the roof from breaking apart. You don't jack the rafter itself. You put a small carrying beam underneath each rafter, and the jack post goes to the carrying beam. So as you push the belly out of the rafter, the jack plate comes up even with the rafter and holds the whole thing up all at once. You just don't go to the middle of one of those rafters and start jacking.
Okay.
But that's not a big deal, you know? It's not
All right,
rocket.
we're going where it's warm.
It's not rocket science.
Any questions from the building inspector?
Yeah.
I do actually have one question. Instead of putting the new wall in, if you were to glue the new collar ties to the rafters and then nail them like you have this pattern here.
The new collar ties, what are you talking about?
Ceiling joist collar ties, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them. See how you've nailed them to the rafters?
Yeah.
If you were to add some glue in there, that will give you over 2 inches of bearing on that beam. And that probably wouldn't that be sufficient for
No.
carrying that?
No, because you cut here's the cut on the rafter, and here's your bearing. Basically, your bearing is only, 3.5 inches of width on the end of this truss. What you really want to do is get it out here so that you have more meat to the tail sitting on a bearing wall. Because you've only got this little bit here.
Right.
You know, and that's all there is. Yeah, I mean, you can see it up there.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but when you glue it and nail it to the rafter.
Glue doesn't do much. I mean, glue, it's nice for silent floors and things, but the glue isn't gonna give any real additional structural integrity to the whole concept of the truss is that it holds the rafters together, they can't kick out, because that's what's gonna push the wall out. And the web members do the same to keep
Yeah, it keeps it all one solid rigid
keep it all
piece.
one
Yep,
plane, the roof. So.
understood.
I mean, this is not a rocket science job, but it's methodical, time-consuming, and meticulous. The labor to get it done is just going to take a while.
Isn't the fruit stayed up now?
Yeah, that's what I had to say. When they said it was well done in that report, I was like, oh. I got to fight it. If I was an architect stamp, and I would never have said, yeah, well done. I never did that. Anyway, we can go across here. I'm going to leave the plans. And we can look at the value savings on this stuff. If you guys are going back next door, I'll show you the price.
And what?
Okay.
Who was that? What?
I'm going to sit down with the proponents over here and show you the values I was talking about based on warrants. Well, this is the insurance spec quotes I got. What underneath is the spreadsheet.
We got a lot to do
I'm
yet.
thinking.
Well, if you got a few minutes, I mean, it won't take that long.
We gotta do the budget, we have to resolve it.
I won't take 10 minutes.
Go ahead, go
5 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 and a half. I'm not sure.
So you got a new camera?